Hello, my name is Kieran Hayes, and today we're talking about something that can make your photographs go from meh to wow. And that's using a flash or speedlight with your Nikon Z series camera. Now we're going to be keeping it super simple, no technical headaches here. We'll cover flash power and what flash you need, how flash works with distance, and why diffusers are your new best friend. Flash isn't just for really dark scenes or nighttime use. It's for control. As yes, it does let you light your subject in dark locations, but it also helps you brighten backlit faces on sunny days. It helps you freeze super fast action too as well, and we can even use it to add that magical sparkle to eyes, helping our subject pop. But how do you know which flash is right for you? And as you can see, I've a ton of flashes here myself, and even more over there. But for most people, shooting indoors, a standard speedlight of 60 to 76 watts is more than powerful enough. When you start venturing outdoors and using a thing called HSS, or when you want less harsh results, you may need a more powerful flash. Your flash has several output settings, from full power all the way down to 1/128 power usually. And you can set that manually if you want, or what most people do is they use a thing called TTL. The beauty of TTL is your camera automatically assesses and controls the flash's power so it lights the scene adequately. This basically means you don't need to work out any calculations, as the camera and the flash do all that for you. So this brings us to diffusers and why you need them. Now think of a bare flash as being like a spotlight. It's hard, it's harsh, and it's shadowy. It's just very direct and to the point. But using a diffuser softens the light by spreading it out and making your light's surface area larger. It's now no longer like a small spotlight, but has a larger surface area, helping to bend and mold the light around our subject. Now, as you can see, I have a few different diffusers here, so I'm going to quickly talk you through them. And the first is this small plastic dome diffuser. And you might well think, the size of the flash head and the plastic dome, they're the same size, Kieran. So what benefit is this? Well, if you think of the light firing out of this actual flash here now, it's going to be very directional. Whereas if I pop this on, the light is going to come out, hit the dome, and it's going to fire at more of an angle. So this will help spread the light around the room more. It's not really going to soften it because the size is going to be the same, but it's going to give you a wider field of view of the flash, if you understand what I mean there. Then we have these two silicone diffusers, and both of these work reasonably well as regards dispersing the light coming off the flash. Now, are they going to make a massive difference and help soften the shadows? No, they're not, but they are going to help a bit, which is the point. Now, obviously, there's a larger surface area in this one, so this one works a bit better. But also, this one is a bit more multifunctional, as in you can just pop it onto the flash head, and then I can push the top section down. So when it's extended out, the light is going to come in here, bounce all around, and fire most directions. When I pop it down, it's going to hit the top of the dome, so it's going to go firing out along this way. Then I can also push it back like this, and pull it forward if I want, and that's going to help focus it more going forward. Now, it doesn't make an absolutely massive difference, but it does help a bit. Then we have the Rogue Flash Bender, and again, this one folds up. You can make a snoot out of it, so you can fire the flash straight down through, so you can help focus the light a small bit more. You can have it firing off like this. So basically, this large panel, once it's put over the flash, so when I fire now, the flash is going to light up inside here, light up this whole area, and it's going to help soften it because of the larger surface area, again, firing back out along. Now, I have to say, this was my default for years when I was out shooting things like weddings, or shooting events, or shooting portraits on the fly where I needed flash. And the main reason for that is you can actually pop it on and off very quickly, and then when you take it out, it is so flat and so easy to transport around the place. And then we have softboxes, and this is a parabolic softbox. Now, softboxes come in all different shapes and sizes, but as you can see, this is quite a large surface area, so that is going to really help diffuse the light coming off the flash. So you can transform the light from your flash into a far larger surface area, which is going to really help remove those harsh shadows. So just think, soft light is more flattering for faces as it reduces your shadows and skin imperfections. And it also just makes it look a lot more natural. But the point to remember here is the larger the surface area, the more power is required to light the whole thing up and to light your subject adequately. So looking at the end results here now, and this is bare bulb, in other words shot without any diffuser, and you can see those shadows in the background are really harsh there now. The next one we have here is the small silicone diffuser, and as you can see the shadows in the background are getting slightly softer. Then moving up to the large silicone diffuser, and again you can see that shadow is blending in a bit more, the transition isn't quite as steep. Going to the Rogue Flash Bender here now, and you can see there's another improvement yet again. And finally going to the softbox then, and you can see there's an absolutely massive improvement straight away. And looking at all these photographs here now together, you can straight away see how each diffuser is changing the shadow detail in the background. And that's what diffusers are for. They're there to soften the light and to help that transition between shadow and light. With flash, there are also a few other settings that will affect your perceived flash power. And they are the distance between your flash and the subject, adjusting your camera's aperture or its ISO. Now you will note there I didn't say shutter speed, as your camera's shutter speed normally doesn't affect your flash power. This has to do with the way your camera actually sees the light coming from the flash. You see, normally we use shutter speeds of up to 1/200 of a second with flash. So the camera and the flash can both synchronize and light the image up correctly. But once we go above or faster than the shutter speed, we have to use HSS, which is high speed sync. And this completely changes the way the flash works. Instead of firing off one large burst, it now uses multiple bursts to ensure the scene is correctly lit. If we fire off a single flash, you could end out with dark banding in your image. High speed sync or HSS helps us avoid this. The trouble here is the faster the shutter speed, then the more pulses you need from the flash, and the more pulses you need, that then in turn takes away power from the flash and it weakens its output power. So here we have a sequence of photographs with the shutter speeds above on top. And as you can see, once we go above 1/200 of a second, the image starts to darken, even though the flash output power is exactly the same in all these photographs. Once we stay below 1/200 of a second, the shutter speed has no bearing whatsoever on the brightness of the flash. So this is just a visual confirmation of how HSS works, to give you a very good idea of how it's going to affect the brightness level of your flash once you start increasing your shutter speed over 1/200 of a second and start using HSS. This is an incredibly simplistic and very rough way of explaining kind of how HSS works. So you might now be very well wondering, why would you use HSS then? Well, if you were shooting outdoors and trying to battle with bright sunlight, you might need to use a faster shutter speed to help darken down the ambient light or daylight a bit. Now that your shutter speed is faster and probably well over 1/200 of a second, you need to use HSS on your flash then. So the most important takeaway from this is HSS decreases your flash output power, but remember, at the same time, it's an incredibly important tool to have. So the faster your shutter speed, once you head into HSS, the weaker the final output from the flash is going to be. Now let's look at how distance works with light and the inverse square law of light. This one sounds like it's going to cause a headache, but it's actually fairly simple, and it basically means that light drops off really quickly the further you go from the flash. So let's say, for example, my flash is here, and we'll pretend the camera is my subject, and it's a meter away, right? And it's going to light my subject perfectly. If I move this camera, my subject, 2 meters away from the flash, You might think the light is now only half as bright, but that's where you'd be wrong. It's actually only 1/4 as bright. And if we move it 4 meters away, it's only 1/16 as bright. So the light level does fall off dramatically, and it's incredibly important to notice, as we can use this to not only light our scene correctly, but also shape the light the way we want it. In essence, this means you need to bring your flash closer to your subject if you want the background darker and the subject brighter, or move it further away if you want the light to spread more evenly across the depth of your image. To give you a visual representation of what I mean here, the image on the left had the flash at 0.5 meter, and you can see the background is quite dark, whereas the image on the right had the flash at 3 meters, and as you can see, that is a lot brighter. Now obviously, as the flash is further away, the output power also needed to be increased, but you can clearly see there isn't as much of a fall off between the subject and the background, and in both of these photographs, the distance from the subject to the background is half a meter, and that hasn't changed. A point I didn't mention as of yet when it comes to choosing the right flash is that a nice side effect of a super powerful flash is they have a faster recycling time, which means you don't have to wait as long in between the shots for the flash to recharge. So I've the Neewer Q200 set up here now at full power, which is 200 watts. I have the Neewer Q4, which is a 400 watt unit, set up at half power. So both of these flashes are both going to deliver 200 watts of power. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the button here to trigger the flash. Now it's ready again. When you see the red light come back on, it's ready to fire off another shot. So bang, there we go. And you can hear there's a bit of a delay in between flashes. Now if I go to the Q200, which is on half power, and if I press the button, it's ready instantaneously. Straight away. While this is a very basic example of this, it's very important to remember this when you're buying your next flash. This brings us now to my flash tips. And the first is bounce your flash off walls or ceilings for soft light if you're in a venue. Second is you should always start with TTL mode to let the camera handle the power settings for you. The next one then is use a bounce card to get a bit of catch light in the eyes. In manual mode then, learn your favorite power settings for different distances. Remember, distance changes not only the light's interaction with your subject, but also the background. So this was a very basic run through of flash photography, and there's a lot more to it with settings like front and rear curtain settings, remote triggers for off-camera flash, and using multiple flashes in a shot. Now, if you'd like to see a more in-depth run-through on flash, let me know. Or if you'd like to see a product shot where I shoot a bottle of whiskey and its box and just one strobe, just a single strobe, and get amazing magazine quality shots from it with some product photography tips thrown into as well, of course, then let me know and I'll do that one for you. It's not as difficult as you think. So yeah, if this was helpful, then please do give it a thumbs up and please drop a comment below and let me know if you find videos like these helpful and if you'd like to see one on a specific subject or area of photography, or even better, let me know what flash setup you're using. And as always, if you have any questions, then please do feel free to ask them. So yeah, that's it. See you out there, or see you in the next video.